Hello, and welcome to our market trends discussion, powered by Virtual Technique Guides, a Level X solution that allows sales teams and medical device companies to train surgeons located anywhere in the world, replicating any type of medical device, surgical procedure, patient type, or surgical complication. My name is Melyssa Nocar, Senior Vice President, Marketing at Level X. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by two incredible physician thought leaders, Dr. Rafael Grossmann, trauma surgeon and medical futurist, and Dr. David Abbasi, board certified orthopedic sports medicine surgeon, and might I add, pro MMA UFC ringside physician. Should make for an exciting discussion all around today. We will cover trends surrounding surgical training and emerging medical device technologies with a focus on orthopedics, as well as ways that medical device companies can partner with surgeons to improve patient outcomes. To start, let's dive into the state of the market. The pandemic impacted the global orthopedic market pretty significantly, both with elective procedure cancellations and surgical restrictions, as well as with surgical training. How did you see medical device companies successfully pivot in the last year, especially as it relates to surgical training, and what trends will we be taking with us as we look to the future? Dr. Grossmann, let's start with you.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Melyssa, and it's great to join you in this great endeavor. I think that, as you said, the last year and a half has been really difficult in many ways. But I think that what respects to teaching and learning, I think that that has been especially impacted. And one of the ways that we have sort of overcome the difficulties have been by using technology, by using digital health, digital transformation in learning and in teaching in healthcare. And I've seen a lot of people implementing techniques and platforms, incredible platforms like the Level X, in order to facilitate how we do these things. It's been really, in a way, refreshing to see how people have been embracing these technologies in order to be able to allow the transmission of knowledge to really happen despite all the difficulties.
Most definitely. Yeah, I appreciate those comments. Dr. Abbasi, anything you'd like to add?
Well, yeah, I would say definitely, a difference that I saw, especially with the pandemic, as we know, we as much face to face, and a lot of times the ways that us as orthopedic surgeons get our education would be through these annual meetings, such as the AAOS meetings, and it's a chance for us to go and learn, and those opportunities were not present during the pandemic. So one thing that I myself noticed during these times was a lot of different medical device companies, for example, really kind of stepped up their social media game. And specifically things like LinkedIn or Instagram even. I noticed a lot more content production by companies such as Arthrex, where they would start to show their technologies and technique guides for certain types of surgery. So I thought that was a nice way to kind of to try to pivot in terms of the difficulty in finding a new way to kind of distribute what they have available to surgeons and therefore patients. So that's one thing that I definitely noticed, and I enjoyed being able to kind of devour content on platforms like that, such as Instagram and things like that. That was another way for them to distribute what they have available.
Most definitely. I couldn't agree more, personally and professionally. For me, there were many pivots in content marketing and that are definitely here to stay and certainly applicable to how healthcare stakeholders reach and engage with each other. So really great inputs there. Despite the challenges brought on by the pandemic, some product categories showed resilience, such as enabling technology and robotic navigation system placements. In fact, robotic guidance or navigation is predicted by some to become a standard of care. With the breadth and volume of developments in med device, especially in orthopedics, through planning software, 3D bioprinting, AR, smart implants, AI-driven 3D modeling, as the list goes on. Which of these areas are you most excited about from a provider perspective, as well as from a patient outcomes perspective, and why? Let's see, Dr. Abbasi, let's start with you this time, and then we'll pivot to Dr. Grossmann.
Yeah, so I think, especially in the field of orthopedic surgery, what's kind of exciting is we've developed more patient-specific techniques in terms of planning out surgery specifically, and even implants that are unique to the patient's own anatomy. So for example, we have technologies such as, patient-specific CT scans or other types of imaging where patients will go and get a CT scan that aligns with the medical device company. And therefore we can even 3D print or have specific implants, for example, in the total knee or total hip replacement or even total shoulder replacement space. We can really fine tune these surgeries specific to each patient's own anatomy. And therefore we think probably is going to decrease complications and have better outcomes.
That's great. Yeah. Dr. Grossmann, anything you'd like to add here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with Dr. Abbasi. And for me, I think one of the most exciting fields, let's call it that way, is AI, right? Artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence, as some people call it. I think that machine learning, computer vision, computer recognition of voice and imaging, the power of analyzing vital signs remotely, analyzing visual fields intraoperatively, that is really going to have a tremendous impact in how we teach and how we actually do, how we operate. If we think the advancements that we've had in regards to visual recognition, computer vision in endoscopic or laparoscopic, minimally invasive, even robotic surgery, I think that there's a growing field of knowledge out there that is going to become somewhat a guide for surgeons and for young or learner surgeons that is going to be the standard of care, I think, within very, very few years. Performance improvement based on this sort of database of augmented or artificial intelligent algorithms is going to be phenomenal, where you can be operating and there's a critical part of the operation and you might have a sort of a warning system to alert you and make you think twice about you cutting certain structure or drilling. Or so I think that is really, really exciting to me. And again, 3D printing and customized, instantaneous printing of tools and or structures or devices is really going to be also the new thing now that is going to be standard pretty soon.
Yeah. So many exciting developments on the horizon that have quite the learning curve, which is the perfect segue to discuss remote learning opportunities. You both experienced the Level X virtual technique guides. To our viewers, Level X has leveraged cloud gaming tech to enable surgeons and sales teams at medical device companies to practice high fidelity virtual procedures on Zoom. Also, to help surgeons independently refresh on medical procedures online at their convenience. I have a couple thoughts I'd like to explore specific to your individual experiences here. So Dr. Abbasi, we'll start with you here. You've seen some wild injuries from the ringside. What's the craziest scenario you'd like to see featured on the platform?
Just thinking recently, in terms of the UFC and MMA world, Conor McGregor, the sport's biggest star, for example, had a very severe long bone fractures of his leg, tibia fractures and fibula fractures. We know that he's had a rod placed in his tibia. He had plates and screws placed on his fibula. I think those are very common orthopedic procedures, just to be one example that we could definitely replicate from a virtual standpoint. I think, we could learn, incorporate how do we nail long bones of the tibia, of the femur, for example? How do we do very basic fracture care in terms of plates and screws? And then as a sports medicine guy myself, I would love to see that even get into the sports medicine in terms of arthroscopic surgery and arthroscopic knee, arthroscopic elbow, arthroscopic shoulder. I think there's definitely opportunities there for that type of, to replicate those types of surgeries from a learning standpoint in the virtual space.
So very interesting. And Dr. Grossmann, from a trauma perspective, what class of procedures, in your perspective, would benefit the most from a platform like virtual technique guides?
Yeah, I really I think about this, right? And for me, it's about using the available technology in a smart way in order to improve how we communicate and we connect. And if I think about general and trauma surgery, which is what I do, and if you think about the fact that it is known that 5 billion people in the world don't have access to safe or affordable surgery, for example. So just that fact is such an impactful thing for me to think about, that any sort of common surgical procedure that we see as basic in many and most parts of the world is not basic. And if we go even beyond surgery, if we think that the healthcare team is not just obviously physicians, it's not obviously just surgeons, it's nurses, it's physician assistants, it's nurse practitioners, it's paramedics, it's EMTs. So it's a whole community of people that make healthcare happen. And in many parts of the world, it's not even surgeons who do surgery. And I see that anything that is basic and is procedural has an incredible potential to be the perfect target for a platform, for example, like Level X, to simplifying things like putting an IV, setting up a pump, setting up a basic life-saving device in the ICU or on the field, doing a thoracentesis or a thoracostomy or a cricothyroidotomy or things that are life-saving or are basic. I think those are the things that for me would really be game-changing, because you can narrow it to a very specific subspecialty field in surgery, but you can also open it up to the rest of the world and really make a technology using a simple device, right, that we all have in our pockets to really change paradigms. I think that is got a lot of power.
Yeah, those are all really great examples. Absolutely love it. Especially want to get to this last question here as we conclude. Can each of you share one thing that's keeping you up at night as you consider the future for surgical training? Dr. Abbasi, we'll start with you on this one.
All right, so thinking about when I was in training, back in residency and in fellowship, there's this thing now, we have, resident work hour restrictions, which I think is a very good thing in terms of, limiting the amount of hours, because people can be exhausted and obviously the decision-making can take a toll. But one of the downsides of that is they may not necessarily, current, residents in training with these current hour restrictions may not be getting the same amount of repetitions, the same type of experience, and the same type of exposure in their training. If you're an orthopedic surgeon, you should be doing this many tibia nails and this many femoral nails. And with work hour restrictions, for example, that may be a rate limiting step in allowing you to do that. So one thing that's kind of exciting about technologies like Level X is if there was any areas that maybe they didn't get the full experience, and there may be opportunities to supplement it from a virtual standpoint, or at least, compare case logs and see, I've done a good amount of tibia nails, but I haven't done a lot of total knee replacements. That may be a good opportunity to supplement that type of those lower numbers with a virtual platform. And I think that's where Level X really has an opportunity to help kind of allow that type of supplementation, so we can really be training, the best surgeons possible.
Yeah, no, that's great. Dr. Grossmann, what's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, well, many things are. not a baby, yeah. But many things are. I do agree with Dr. Abbasi. I think that, again, using technology in a smart way, we now have ways to connect and to communicate using technologies that 5 years ago were not even, a thought. And I'm very passionate about the field of immersive realities, right? Of virtual reality, VR or AR or mixed reality, what we call XR. I think that field has tremendous potential in how we connect and communicate and how we teach and how we learn. If you look at platforms like Fundamental VR or Precision OS or also VR, and they're really changing the game in regards to training anywhere, anytime, at a distance, especially in times of pandemic and beyond. For me, that is sort of the basic step. But when you add haptics and when you add the power of sense, the touch at a distance remotely, which is something that Fundamental VR, for example, is doing, using gloves or using different devices in order to make you feel through a VR headset what you are seeing in the digital world. To me, that's giving you the full experience, and it's almost when it's short of teleporting yourself to somewhere to practice a procedure or to do a procedure. I think that this is the best next option, and that is to me something super exciting that I think will change education and will allow us to really massify and expand and make education more available, more equitable, and that's something that we should do with technology, right? In a way, help technology help us democratize how we learn and how we teach. I think that's really exciting to me.
Looking forward to sharing these with our team and collaborating with our medical device partners. Certainly be a lot of fun identifying interactive ways to address and create the best, most engaging experience for you and your colleagues so that we can collectively deliver better patient care. Thank you both for today's discussion. It was a pleasure speaking with you. To our viewers, thanks for tuning in today. We would love to hear from you and what these considerations mean for your business priorities. For more information or to request a demo, please visit us at levelx.com. Thanks, everyone.